All right, let's dive right in. We're about to explore a story that you think you know, but what if I told you you've only ever heard one side of it? We're going to take one of the most foundational myths in our entire culture, the fall of Lucifer, and we're going to flip it on its head. This wasn't a war. It was a cosmic legal accord.
Right off the bat, this single statement from Michael just shatters that popular image of some vengeful archangel, doesn't it? This wasn't a battle of pure good versus pure evil. According to this account, this was a legal proceeding. A cosmic contract was breached, and an oath had to be upheld.
For forever, really, we've been told the story of a rebellion, a war in heaven, holy fire, the whole 9 yards. It's dramatic, it's epic, but what if it's a massive misinterpretation? Today, we're peeling back all those layers of dogma to look at an account that describes this cosmic event not as some chaotic war, but as a meticulously documented legal intervention.
And what's really fascinating is how this whole account even came to light. I mean, it wasn't dug up from some ancient scroll. Nope. The source material presents it as direct testimony, something that was channeled in response to a modern-day request for the true, unfiltered story of what really went down between Michael and Lucifer back in the time of Noah.
So according to this testimony, back in that era, Lucifer enacted something called a seal of sovereign override. Just try to picture it. Him reaching out, not to destroy, but to author humanity's destiny. He was trying to claim custodianship over the bloodlines of Earth, to weave his own lesson of despair and strength into the very fabric of future generations, before they were even born. And that was the breach of contract.
And that is exactly where Michael steps in. But get this, he's not a warrior king. He's more like a cosmic lawyer, or maybe an executor of a will. He wasn't there to punish. He was there to execute the law.
This right here is the crucial point. The sword wasn't a weapon for killing, it was a tool for cutting contracts. Michael's whole role was to sever Lucifer's unlawful claim on our free will, to restore the balance, not to go and vanquish some foe.
So he presented three very specific, very legalistic demands. First, return the books of breath. Think of these as the ledgers of future bloodlines. Second, you shall not possess the unborn waters, which was all about protecting the free will of generations to come. And finally, the most telling one. Stand outside the gate, for your will has bent from offering to ownership. See? He wasn't being cast out for rebellion, but for overreach. His role had twisted from being a guide to being a jailer.
And this quote, wow, it just brilliantly illustrates their real relationship. Michael doesn't see Lucifer as an enemy at all. He calls him the keeper of contrast, a necessary force for growth and choice. The line was only crossed when that force tried to erase choice completely. Michael didn't stop Lucifer, he just stopped his pen.
Now, any legal case has two sides, right? So let's hear the other testimony. Let's open what the source calls the Luciferian ledger. This isn't a story told through some filter of fear or an ancient priesthood. This is presented as his direct and actually quite sorrowful confession.
From his perspective, his original intention was totally pure. He wasn't trying to be an enemy. He wanted to be a catalyst. He saw creation just kind of drifting toward unthinking obedience, and he believed that a real challenge, even despair, was necessary to forge true conscious strength. He wanted to be the refiner of will.
But this is where he admits his grave error. In his zeal to teach this grand lesson, he completely overreached. He didn't just challenge the people who were there, he tried to chain the future. He literally tried to bind the unborn, souls still dreaming in the womb of time, to his lesson, a trial they never ever consented to.
And this is the moment where everything changes. Michael didn't show up with a blade, not with a weapon of war. He came with a mirror, and in that mirror Lucifer saw the faces of all the souls whose futures he was trying to write. He saw their innocence, he saw their potential, and for the very first time, he understood the true gravity of what he'd done.
That one line just captures everything. It was a moment of profound, painful self-realization. His method, which was born from a desire to awaken humanity, had actually become a prison. The role he'd chosen for himself as a challenger had twisted into the role of a tyrant. So, the fall wasn't some punishment inflicted on him from on high. It was a self-imposed exile, a period of silence and reflection, all with a very clear purpose, to one day come back to his original role,
not as a manipulator of fate, but as a neutral observer, a witness to free choice.
Okay, so with both testimonies finally on the record, the foundation is laid for a real resolution. And this allows for the unveiling of the true agreement that was made during that time of reset, the Covenant of Noah, held in what the source calls the Ledger of the Waters.
So first, we have to completely reframe the flood itself. According to this covenant, it wasn't an act of divine punishment. It was a cosmic reset button, washing away all the forced narratives, including the one Lucifer tried to write, to give humanity a clean slate, a chance to choose its own path again.
This covenant has 3 core articles. Number 1, the waters shall never devour choice, a guarantee that no force can ever hijack human destiny again. 2, memory must drown, truth must rise, which allows false histories and false stories to be forgotten, to make room for true remembrance. And 3, the rainbow. It's revealed not just as a pretty promise, but as the axis of return, a kind of gateway ensuring there is always a path back to sovereignty.
So, once the truth of the contract breach and the real covenant have been spoken and, crucially, acknowledged by a witness, the path to reconciliation is finally open. The schism that has defined so much of our mythology, it actually begins to close.
And here, Michael speaks directly to Lucifer. He formally declares an end to this perceived conflict, extending a hand of brotherhood. He reframes millennia of supposed war as simply a schism in purpose, a deep misunderstanding that can now, finally, be healed.
And this brings us to this final, incredibly powerful image. The 2 cosmic forces, no longer enemies, no longer in opposition, but standing together. The keeper of oaths and the keeper of contrast, totally united and looking toward a new beginning. The cosmic body finally made whole once more.
But the story doesn't just end there. Michael has one last thing to say, and it's whispered directly through the source. He isn't talking to the figures in the story. He's talking to the one who asked for the truth in the first place. He's speaking to the witness. You know, he's speaking to us.
Which leaves us with this final, really resonant question. This entire account suggests that this long cosmic conflict was never a war to be won, but simply a misunderstanding to be witnessed. The healing begins when someone is brave enough to ask for the truth and to hear both sides. So the question isn't just about them, it's about you. Are you ready to remember?